My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. The app is simple. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Sports app today and use code FIELD and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code FIELD on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this very special bonus edition of There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best of playlist of your favorite bands and artists, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. And hello to all of our listeners in Barrie, Ontario, and around the world. How are you all doing, everyone? So I want to take a quick moment here to say thank you. Because over the last 2 years, almost 5,000 downloads later, from literally around the world, you all have tuned in to this little podcast made out of a basement in Canada by an idiot with a microphone. Thank you so much for listening to the last 50 episodes, not to mention all the episodes of Spin Shuffle Skip that we put out in only the last year. So we've listened to a lot of music during that time, and every now and then we'll put out an episode. And then, because apparently musicians like to work and write new music, they put out another album after we've put out the episode. So knowing that these situations are going to come up over the lifespan of this podcast, every 50 episodes, I'm going to put together a bonus episode for you. So we take a look back at artists that were covered in the last 50 episodes that have new albums that have been released. And we're going to put together a little special show here, going through just the new albums that were released by artists that were covered in those first 5 episodes, which means we have 5 new albums to go through. And in another 50 episodes, we'll put together another bonus episode that will cover episodes 1 through 100 and cover any new albums that were released. Because, we all like new music. And I love when artists continue to put out new albums. So we're always going to be covering those albums. And we don't want to sit there and say, we're just going to ignore those albums. No, those albums deserve to be heard and listened. So for the next little bit, please indulge me as I go through the 5 new albums that were released by artists from episodes 1 through 50 and make my picks from those albums. And then after all that, I'm going to drop my only one pick from those 5 albums. So this is kind of a different episode, kind of like our one and dones, where we just go through 5 different albums from artists who only have one album only. Here, it's 5 albums that have come out from the artists since we've recorded an episode on them. And we start with the artist that was covered during episode 6, that being Amaranthe, when they released The Catalyst. released February 23rd of 2024. This is actually the first album with Michael Solin on harsh vocals, who replaced GG6. The album hit number 5 on the UK rock and metal charts, number 6 in Switzerland, number 3 in Germany, and number 9 in Austria. There were 5 singles off of this one: Find Life, Damnation Flame, Insatiable, Outer Dimensions, and Revision. And if it sounds familiar, that's because on the Spin Shuffle Skip episode of Albums of 2024, this was my spin pick. So to say that I am ridiculously biased about this album is putting it mildly, but I've always been an Amaranthe fan. So I wear my fandom on my sleeve proudly. This band is fantastic, and if you like metal with a little bit of a dance influence, you're going to love what you hear out of Amaranthe. But then we come to having to pick only one. And off of this album, I'm actually going with a song that was not released as a single, Stay a Little While. Now, I remember when we did the episode on Amaranthe that I kind of gushed about when they do slower, emotional, maybe, power ballad-esque kind of songs, because you really cannot deny the power behind the vocals of Elise Reed and Nils Molin. And when they sing together, it is fantastic. I love what Nils has brought to this band since replacing Jake E. Nothing against Jake E. I just love Nils's power and his vocals. This song really showcases that. Like, super strong, bone-chilling performance from him. And that's not to say anything against Michael Solin, because I think he fits in very well. I just think that songs like this really stand out on the albums because, Elise Reed is a fantastic singer. There's no getting around this. I did have Insatiable and Outer Dimensions on my short list because when they put out a single, it's usually one of the best songs on the album. But in this case, Stay a Little While really kind of stands out among the rest. I don't know if it would actually displace my only one from the entire Amaranthe discography, that being true. But in this case, Stay a Little While really does fit well into that mix. So if you have the chance to see Amaranthe on tour, and I finally got to knock them off the bucket list. That was fantastic. I got to see them live. They are an amazing show. Go see them if you get a chance to. So off of The Catalyst by Amaranthe, Stay a Little While is my pick. Next up was the artist covered on episode 14 of the podcast, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, with one of their live albums, Blow It at Madison's Quinceanera, released June 14th, 2024. This live album was actually recorded at a quinceanera, which is the celebration of a girl's 15th birthday, and apparently no one had ever actually heard of the band. So it's kind of what they did with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes ruined Johnny's bar mitzvah, and none of these songs had previously been recorded by the band. There was one single off of this one, their cover of ABBA's Dancing Queen. And I can only imagine the looks on people's faces when they started their show with a cover of Black Sabbath's Changes. So, I actually would have loved to have been at that show. But they also have covers of Captain and Tennille and Olivia Rodrigo and even Juice Newton. I mentioned Juice Newton because their cover of Queen of Hearts is my pick off of this album. I did shortlist Love Will Keep Us Together, mainly because when they play that, they have a little bit of that bass riff from Love Will Tear Us Apart from Joy Division in there. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like they knew exactly what they were doing, and Me First and the Gimme Gimmes are ridiculously musically smart when they're putting their covers together. So those little musical teases, if you know the song, you're like, oh, they're going to do the thing. And then they go to this song and you're like, oh, I see what you did there. So Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, really smart. But the funny thing is, I think I like what they did with Queen of Hearts so much because it makes it better than the original Queen of Hearts. Not to say that the original isn't a bop, because it is. And I forgot how much of a bop that song is. And I remember when it came out in the 80s and it was on radio all the time. And you're like, yeah, it's very almost like country pop. Before Shania Twain was country pop. This is kind of what country pop was. This actually gives it a brand new adrenaline charge of energy that I think works so well with this. I'm sure they're not the first band to cover Queen of Hearts live, in a very punky pop kind of version, but they did it live at a Quinceanera. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, bringing music to maybe where music shouldn't go. But still, love this pick, Queen of Hearts from Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. It wouldn't be my overall only one as well. I think that one, if I remember correctly, was Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard, or it might have been Phantom of the Opera, one of the two. But Queen of Hearts, my pick off of this one.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/smallbusiness or visit an Apple store to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
We now will go into Linkin Park's From Zero. We covered Linkin Park on episode 18 of the podcast with Gomez from the Sleepy G Show. This album was released November 14th, 2024, and is the first album after the passing of Chester Bennington. This is the first album to feature Colin Britton on drums and Emily Armstrong on vocals, taking Chester's place in the band. Not necessarily, replacing him, but adding something new to the band, because Linkin Park does feel now like a different band, and that's okay. The album hit number 1 in Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Croatia, the Netherlands, France, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, New Zealand, Scotland, Switzerland, and the UK. It also hit number 2 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 on the Billboard Top Rock Album charts. The album is gold in France and Germany and silver in the UK. There are 4 singles off of this so far. The Emptiness Machine charting the highest, hitting number 1 on the US rock airplay charts, the UK rock and metal charts, and in Switzerland, Portugal, Luxembourg, Latvia, Germany, the Czech Republic, the Canadian rock charts, and Austria. First of all, how good is it to have Linkin Park back? Like, I know it was a gut punch when Chester Bennington passed away. I know that people were like, well, Linkin Park should never come back. But I'm the opposite of that. I love to see that Linkin Park has come back and come back in a way that is similar to, but also different at the same time. Like, I'm really happy for Mike Shinoda and crew on this one, because it's got to be tough to kind of pick up from where you were and to get over that. And I think enough time has passed too that people are like ready for this. Because when the Empty Machine dropped, people lost their minds. And that video that they put out of that almost like studio warehouse performance that was definitely filmed for a video, it was great. It was a great way to introduce Emily Armstrong to the world as the new vocalist in Linkin Park. It's a great song. Love to see that Linkin Park is back out there. But interestingly, or maybe not interestingly, if you know me and you know this show, I'm not actually going with one of the singles. I'm going to go with Good Things Go. This is the last track on the album. And it was really hard to not pick The Emptiness Machine, because I think it is one of their better, more recent songs ever since like the Hybrid Theory days. But Good Things Go is multi-level ear candy for me. From a musical and instrumentation perspective and the songwriting, This, to me, is the best song on the disc. It adds a very cool ambiance. It's not just a straightforward, typical Linkin Park kind of song. And I think from a vocal standpoint, there are two songs that showcase Emily Armstrong the best. This one and Stained. Stained features a bit of a vocal fry, not a scream sing for her, but a vocal fry to her singing vocals. But this one, this is what you want out of Emily Armstrong in this band. This is the vocalizations that you're hoping for. And her pairing with Mike Shinoda on this, like when they're singing in tandem, it is so good. And I think this is what Linkin Park is going to sound like for the next little while. And I love this. I absolutely love this for them. This is such a good song. I am surprised it's not a single. And if it doesn't get into the live set, not that I've looked at setlist.fm before this, because apparently I don't research that much, but I'm hoping that this becomes a live staple, because this is a powerful song. Like really, really powerful. And the bridge in this, if I get the chance to see Linkin Park live on this tour, I need to see this song live. I'm hoping that it's in their set list. And if it's not, you're more than welcome to put it into the set list, because trust me when I say people are going to lose their mind when they hear this song. So for me, Good Things Go is my pick off of this one. I know for a fact, though, that it would not replace my only one pick from that episode, which was Faint. I love Faint. It will always be my favorite Linkin Park song. But this is up there. This might actually be my second favorite Linkin Park song. And for that to happen on an album where they're basically coming, and I hate the terminology, but really coming back to life, coming back to the forefront of the music world with a new vocalist and trying to rebuild after such a tragic loss. This song tells me that Linkin Park is in good hands. And if you are a Linkin Park fan, do not sleep on this album. It is really, really good. Going back to episode 25, when we covered the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club with our good friend Mark Shea from the Performance Anxiety podcast, they released the Black Tape EP. Now, this was actually originally part of a box set in 2018 that had like no real track listing on it, but then it hit streaming services January 26, 2024. It's only a 4-song EP, and one of the songs in a different version was on the Wrong Creatures disc. So we're talking a very small subset here. My pick off of this one is Bad Rabbit. It's the first track on the EP, and this has got a... You're going to laugh at the pun here, but bear with me because I have bad jokes all the time, and if you've listened to the show, well, you know this. This song has a dirty blues bar or a motorcycle club kind of feel to it. This song feels like the band because of the name of the band. And I wish this EP had been available when we did that episode, because this song, Bad Rabbit, might have actually been my only one pick. It is so good, and I love the dual vocal on this. Very similar to why Good Things Go off of From Zero by Linkin Park is my pick off of that album. This song, because of the dual vocals, makes it stand out from the other three that are on the EP. I might actually say it right now. Bad Rabbit is probably my favorite Black Rebel Motorcycle Club song. And I say that maybe it's a recency bias, but I was shocked by this. I was gut punched by this, and I wish this EP was it when we did the episode, because this definitely would have been up there. So for me, off of this 4-song EP, it's Bad Rabbit. We now go back to episode 30, when our good friend Sean Faust hopped on the show and we talked about Bon Jovi, and then they went and released Forever. Released June 7th, 2024. We do have some member additions officially to the band. Everett Bradley joined in on percussion and backing vocals, and John Shanks joined in with acoustic and electric guitar and some other instrumentation throughout the album. The album did hit number 5 on the Billboard 200, number 1 in Switzerland. There were 3 singles off of this one. Legendary charted the highest so far, hitting number 9 on the Billboard Adult Contemporary charts. Now, I know that you're not going to get Slippery When Wet era vocals from Bon Jovi anymore, because John has been around a while, and John's vocals can't really handle those really high runaway type notes. That's not going to happen anymore. The songs on this disc are definitely written around that vocal range, and I think for the betterment of it. So when I say that Living Proof is my pick off this one, there's a reason why. It is right in the pocket of where John's vocals are right now. The song itself would not have felt out of place, I think, on an album like Crush or Have a Nice Day. It's a really, really good song. It's that typical driving, radio-friendly, solid song that you would expect at a Bon Jovi. It feels like a Bon Jovi song, and that's the thing, too. You don't want Bon Jovi to come out and start trying to sound like Linkin Park. That's not going to happen, right? You want a Bon Jovi song that sounds like Bon Jovi, and here you get Living Proof, which is very much a Bon Jovi sounding song. The album as a whole definitely feels like a band that has been around since the early 80s, and that's okay. That is okay, but they still know exactly what brought them to the party. And there's a lot of songs on here that kind of feel almost like reflective of where the band is. Kind of like when you go back to, if I remember correctly, in the Crush album, you had the I'm Not Old, I'm Just Older song. This is kind of that song as well. Living Proof kind of feels like that look back. There are other songs that kind of feel like that look back, like Legendary and Made It Look Easy. But to me, Living Proof off this disc stands out as the kind of song that you want to see live. You want to hear Bon Jovi play it. And it fits right in with that kind of Bon Jovi later greatest hits kind of feel. So for me, Legendary was on my shortlist on this one, but Living Proof that Bon Jovi still knows how to write a damn good song. But now we get to my own little personal torture chamber, which is trying to pick one song from everything. So from Amaranthe, who we covered in episode 6, off of the Catalyst, I picked Stay a Little While. From Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, off of Blow It at Madison's Quinceanera, a band we covered on episode 14, I picked Queen of Hearts. From Linkin Park, from their From Zero album, a band we covered back on episode 18, I picked Good Things Go. From the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, who we covered on episode 25, I picked Bad Rabbit off of their Black Tape EP. And off of episode 30's Bon Jovi, their Forever album, I picked Living Proof. Now, to pick a song from these 5 very, very different artists. And I say that knowing that Amaranthe is one of my personal favorite bands out of this group. Me First and the Gimme Gimmes always bring it. Linkin Park, so happy to see them back. And it's really hard. But I think from these 5 songs, I might surprise you. I might surprise you with this because I know. I'm going to go with Good Things Go. From Linkin Park, from Zero. Of these 5, you thought I was going to pick the Amaranthe song, didn't you? And I love that album, but Good Things Go is such a pleasant surprise from this album. Being the last song, your lasting memory of the album, like it hits you hard after the intro with the Emptiness Machine. This is the perfect way to sum that up and to basically put a curtain call and this reintroduction to Linkin Park. I am so happy for Linkin Park fans. I am so stoked for the idea of maybe going to see them live coming up. And I am so stoked for what is around the corner for this podcast because I already know because this episode is releasing in mid-January. And in February, Dream Theater is releasing an album. So already there's a disc ready to go for the next bonus episode of There Can Only Be One. So we're just going to keep on building on, and we'll revisit this format in 2 years. And I hope you come along for the ride because we have some fantastic artists coming up, including, and I'll give you a little bit of a tease here, in episode 51, the very first episode of our second 2-year run, the biggest artist in the world. That's all I have to say. Dear listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the last 50 episodes of There Can Only Be One and all of our episodes of Spin Shuffle Skip that come on every other week. Until the next time, you guys know the drill. If there is an artist that you want us to cover on There Can Only Be One, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out our merch section because you can now get There Can Only Be One and Spin Shuffle Skip merch. And if you love movies, on February 1st, if you're living in the Whitby, Ontario area or in the Greater Toronto area, we are doing a live taping of It's Not That Bad at Five Paddles Brewery in Whitby. It is completely free. We're going to screen the movie and then we're going to talk about the film. You just have to go to fivepaddles.ca and register for your spot. It is completely free. The food is good, the beer is good, and we hope to see you out there. Until next time, thank you so much to your listeners for the last 2 years of There Could Only Be One, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
Hey, this is John Moses and Tyler Morrison from the Fight Stories podcast.
And we want to welcome everyone from Pantheon to check out the podcast that goes from pros to average Joes.
We got MMA champs, boxing champs, NHL tough guys, funniest comedians in the world, and of course, stories from guys like your drunk Uncle Tommy on Thanksgiving.
That's right, because we're the voice of the streets, and we want to hear from you guys, because what's better than hanging out with your crew and reliving the old glory days?
Stories like Rigby, who put that guy's head through a popcorn machine in front of his 5- and 6-year-old son while eating chicken wings at the bar.
It doesn't get any better than that. Everyone has a fight story. We want to hear yours.